The emergency klaxon screamed through the bridge of the Zephyrian battlecruiser * Eternal Dominion *. Admiral Kethvar's 4 eyes tracked the impossible readings on his tactical display, his scaled hands trembling as he gripped the command chair. "This cannot be correct," he hissed, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades commanding the galaxy's most advanced fleet. "Run the scans again." Communications Officer Ilfnex's tentacles danced across her console with increasing desperation. "Admiral, the readings are consistent across all sensor arrays. The human vessel is. It's doing something that violates every known law of physics." On the main view screen, a single human warship hung in the void like a predator waiting to strike. The *UES Defiance * was smaller than any ship in their fleet, barely a kilometer long compared to their massive 5-kilometer dreadnoughts. Yet somehow, impossibly, it had just torn through their forward battle line like tissue paper. "Show me the replay," Kethvar commanded, his voice barely above a whisper. The tactical display shifted, showing the battle that had begun only minutes ago. The human ship had emerged from hyperspace directly into the center of their formation, a suicidal move that should have resulted in instant destruction. Instead, something extraordinary had happened. The Defiance * had simply ignored their weapons. Plasma beams that could melt asteroids passed through the human ship as if it weren't there. Kinetic projectiles fired at relativistic speeds bounced off its hull like pebbles. Even their experimental quantum disruptors had no effect whatsoever. "This is impossible," whispered Science Officer Quendor, his crystalline features reflecting the horror of what they were witnessing. "Matter cannot simply choose to ignore energy. Physics doesn't work that way." But the humans, it seemed, had never read the physics textbooks. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance *. Her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding her ship. At 35, she was young for a ship commander, but her crew had learned to trust her instincts implicitly. Today, those instincts were telling her something extraordinary was about to happen. "Engine status, Marcus," she asked, turning to her chief engineer. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb looked up from his console, sweat beading on his dark skin despite the cool bridge temperature. "The quantum field generators are holding steady at 847% of theoretical maximum. The containment field is, well, it's doing things our computer models said were impossible." Chen nodded. 3 months ago, they had been nothing more than another patrol vessel on the outer rim. Then they had encountered the artifact. The artifact had been floating in deep space, a crystalline structure the size of a shuttlecraft that seemed to bend light around itself. When they had brought it aboard for study, everything had changed. The ship's quantum engines had begun resonating with the strange crystal, creating effects that their best scientists couldn't explain. "Captain," called out Navigator Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, her voice tight with concentration, "the alien fleet is repositioning. They're trying to surround us." Chen smiled grimly. The Zephyrians had been the galaxy's dominant military power for over 1,000 years. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, their fleet numbering in the millions of ships. They had conquered dozens of civilizations, enslaved entire star systems, and were now turning their attention to Earth. But they had never encountered a species quite like humans. "Helm, take us through their formation," Chen ordered. "Maximum speed." "Captain," Webb called out, his voice filled with concern. "The quantum field is fluctuating. If it collapses while we're moving at this velocity—" "It won't collapse," Chen said with absolute certainty. "The artifact won't let it." She was right. As the Defiance accelerated toward the alien fleet, the quantum field around the ship began to pulse with an eerie blue light. Space itself seemed to bend around them, creating a pocket of altered reality where human determination mattered more than alien technology. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing horror as the human ship approached. His fleet of 200 vessels began firing everything they had, enough firepower to sterilize a planet. The human ship flew through the barrage like it was flying through empty space. "Admiral," YLTH next reported, her voice cracking with fear, "they're not just ignoring our weapons. They're gaining speed." That ship is now moving at 0.97 light speed in normal space. Impossible, Kefar breathed. Nothing can move that fast without hyperspace. But the humans were doing it anyway. The Asterisk Defiance Asterisk swept through the alien formation, its presence alone causing several smaller vessels to lose power. Whatever field the ship was generating seemed to interfere with the aliens' technology on a fundamental level. Engines failed, weapons powered down, and life support systems began flickering across the fleet. They're not even firing at us, observed Tactical Officer Lieutenant Jamie Rodriguez. They're just flying. Chen nodded. The artifact showed us something when we first found it. A vision of what humanity could become if we stopped accepting limitations. She paused, watching as another section of the alien fleet began to withdraw. Today, we're going to show the galaxy what happens when humans decide the rules don't apply to them. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the quantum engines. Outside, the stars seemed to bend around them as they prepared for what would either be humanity's greatest victory or its final stand. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethvar faced the impossible truth. His technologically superior fleet was being defeated by a single human ship that had somehow transcended the laws of physics themselves. Send a message to the High Command, he ordered quietly. Tell them we have encountered something beyond our understanding. Tell them the humans are not like the others. The message would take ours to reach Zephyrian space. By then, everything would have changed. Chapter 2. The artifact's secret 12 hours earlier. Deep in the bowels of the Asterisk Defiance Asterisk, Dr. Elena Vasquez had been conducting her final test on the artifact. The crystalline structure floated in the center of the ship's main laboratory, surrounded by monitoring equipment that had been providing increasingly bizarre readings for weeks. Computer, begin recording. Research log, day 97. She spoke into her personal recorder, her voice tinged with exhaustion and excitement. The artifact continues to defy all attempts at classification. Carbon dating suggests it's over 50,000 years old, yet it shows no signs of decay or wear. Elena was the ship's xenobiologist, though her expertise had expanded considerably. Since they had found the artifact, in the past 3 months, she had become part physicist, part engineer, and part philosopher as she struggled to understand what they had discovered. The most significant development occurred during yesterday's quantum resonance test, she continued. When we aligned the ship's engines with the artifact's natural frequency, the quantum field generators began producing energy outputs. That should have been impossible. She paused, looking at the readings on her tablet. The theoretical maximum output for our engines is to 0.3 exawatts. Yesterday, we measured 19.7 exawatts with no increase in fuel consumption. The extra energy seems to be coming from somewhere else entirely. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to the lab. Elena looked up to see Captain Chen standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Doctor, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me, Chen said, stepping into the lab. Is that thing alive? Elena had been dreading this question. Define alive, Captain. You know what I mean. Does it think? Does it have consciousness? Are we carrying around some kind of alien intelligence? Elena set down her tablet and walked closer to the artifact. Up close, it was even more beautiful, a complex lattice of what looked like crystallized light, constantly shifting and changing in patterns that seemed almost musical. 3 weeks ago, I would have said no, she admitted, but the patterns we're seeing, the way it responds to our presence, Captain, I think it's trying to communicate with us. Chen stepped closer, her eyes fixed on the crystal. What is it trying to say? That's the problem. I don't think it communicates through language the way we do. It seems to communicate through concepts, ideas. When I'm near it, I sometimes get impressions, flashes of understanding about things I've never studied. Elena pulled up a holographic display showing the artifact's energy patterns. Look at these readings from when we first brought it aboard. The patterns were completely random, chaotic, but over time, they've become more organized, more purposeful. It's learning about us, Captain, and teaching us in return. Chen observed quietly. Exactly. the quantum field modifications, the impossible energy outputs. I think it's showing us what our technology could become if we stopped thinking in terms of limitations. Chen was quiet for a long moment, studying the artifact with new understanding. The Zephyrians have been expanding across the galaxy for 1,000 years. They've conquered dozens of civilizations, enslaved entire species. What they all had in common was that they accepted the Zephyrians' technological superiority. But humanity has never been good at accepting limitations, Elena said, beginning to understand. No, we haven't, and maybe that's exactly what this thing has been waiting for. A species crazy enough to look at the impossible and say why. Not at that moment, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain to the bridge. We have contacts approaching, Zephyrian fleet, 200 vessels, and closing fast. Chen's expression hardened. Doctor, I need you to do something for me. I need you to ask it. Ask the artifact if it's willing to help us save humanity. Elena looked uncertain. Captain, I don't know if it works that way. The communication seems to be more subliminal than direct. Try. Anyway, because if my intuition is right, we're about to find out just how far human stubbornness can take us. Elena approached the artifact, placing her hand on the containment field. The moment her palm touched the energy barrier, the crystalline structure began to pulse with renewed intensity. Images flooded her mind, not her own memories, but visions of what could be. She saw the Defiant moving through space as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. She saw human ships that could travel faster than light without hyperspace drives, weapons that could reshape reality itself, and defenses that made matter itself choose to ignore harmful energy. But most importantly, she saw the truth about the artifact itself. Captain, she whispered, her voice filled with awe. It's not just a tool or a weapon. It's a test, a final examination left behind by a species that transcended physical existence. Millions of years ago, a test of what? Of whether a species has the courage to reject the universe's limitations and create their own reality. The Zephyrians found artifacts like this one throughout their expansion, but they always approached them with caution, trying to understand before acting. They never passed the test. Chen smiled grimly. But humans don't work that way. No, Captain, we see something impossible and we try to do it anyway. That's exactly what it's been waiting for. The artifact pulsed brighter, and suddenly Elena could feel the ship's quantum engines responding. The energy readings throughout the ship began climbing toward levels that should have been catastrophic. Captain, you need to get to the bridge. The artifact is ready to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Chen turned to leave, then paused. Doctor, what happens to us after this? Are we still human? Elena looked at the artifact, its light now so bright it was almost painful to look at directly. I think we're about to become something better than human, something that the universe has never seen before. As Captain Chen made her way to the bridge, she could feel the ship changing around her. The walls seemed to hum with new energy, and the very air felt charged with possibility. Whatever happened next, she knew there would be no going back. Behind her, in the laboratory, Dr. Vasquez watched as the artifact began its final transformation. The crystalline structure was dissolving, merging with the ship's systems, becoming part of the Defiant itself. The test was about to begin. Chapter 3. Breaking the universe of Defiant had been flying through the Zephyrian fleet for 17 minutes, and Admiral Kethvar was beginning to understand that everything his species believed about the universe was wrong. Status report, he commanded, though his voice lacked its usual authority. 43 ships have suffered complete power failures, reported his tactical officer. Another 67 are experiencing partial systems failures. The human vessel's quantum field is somehow interfering with our technology at a subatomic level. Kethvar's scaled hands clenched into fists. How? Is that possible? Our ships are shielded against every known form of interference. That's just it, Admiral. This isn't a known form of interference. Our sensors are detecting quantum field fluctuations that shouldn't exist. The human ship is somehow altering the fundamental constants of physics in a localized area around itself on the main view screen. The Asterisk Defiance Asterisk had come to a stop approximately 50 kilometers from the Zephyrian flagship. It hung in space like a predator studying its prey, its hull glowing with an eerie blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with some cosmic heartbeat. Incoming transmission from the human vessel, announced Communications Officer YLTH Nex. Put it through, Kethvar ordered. The view screen shifted to show Captain Chen standing on her bridge, her expression calm but determined. Behind her, the bridge crew worked at stations that were glowing with the same blue light as the ship's hull. Admiral Kethvar, Chen began, her voice carrying clearly across the void. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Asterisk Defiance Asterisk. I believe we need to talk. Kethvar stepped forward, his four eyes fixed on the human captain, Captain Chen. I am Admiral Kethvar, Supreme Commander of the Zephyrian Second Fleet. You have demonstrated capabilities that our science cannot explain. How is this possible? Chen smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Kethvar's blood run cold. Admiral, your science is based on the assumption that the universe has fixed rules. That cannot be changed. What if I told you that assumption is wrong? I would say you are either lying or insane. Kethvar replied. The laws of physics are constant throughout the universe. They cannot be altered by willpower alone, can't they? Chen asked. Your species has spent 1,000 years conquering the galaxy because you believed you had superior technology. But what you really had was superior acceptance of limitations. Every species you've conquered accepted that your way was the only way. She paused, and the blue light around her seemed to intensify. Humans have never been good at accepting limitations. Admiral, we've spent our entire history looking at the impossible and finding ways to make it possible. On the bridge of the Asterisk Defiance Asterisk, the transformation was accelerating. The artifact's energy had merged completely with the ship's systems, creating something that was no longer quite machine and no longer quite alien technology. It was something entirely new, a fusion of human determination and cosmic possibility. Captain, Marcus Webb called out from his engineering station. The quantum field is stabilizing, but at levels that are, well, they're impossible. We're generating enough energy to power a small star. Where is the energy coming from? Chen asked. That's the thing, Captain. I don't think it's coming from anywhere. I think we're creating it. The artifact somehow taught our engines to generate energy by sheer force of will. Dr. Vasquez's voice came over the intercom from the laboratory. Captain, I'm reading quantum signatures throughout the ship that match theoretical calculations for reality. Manipulation. The artifact didn't just give us new technology. It gave us the ability to rewrite the rules of physics on a local level. Chen nodded, understanding flooding through her. We're not just ignoring the universe's limitations. We're creating our own pocket of reality where different rules apply. And that reality is expanding, Vasquez continued. The field around our ship is growing stronger and more stable. Within a few hours, it could encompass this entire star system. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Kethvar was receiving similar reports from his science teams, though they were framed in terms of terror rather than wonder. Admiral, Science Officer Quendor reported, his crystalline features flickering. With distress, the quantum field around the human ship is expanding at an exponential rate. If it continues at this pace, it will engulf our entire fleet within the next hour. What happens to us if we're caught in the field? Kethvar asked. We don't know, Admiral. Our models suggest that our technology might cease to function entirely, or worse. The field might rewrite the quantum structure of our ships and crews. Kethvar turned back to the view screen, where Captain Chen was waiting patiently for his response. Captain, what do you want from us? I want you to understand something, Admiral. Chen replied, for 1,000 years, your species has spread across the galaxy, conquering and enslaving other civilizations. You've done this because you believe might makes right, that technological superiority gives you the right to rule. The blue light around the Asterisk Defiance Asterisk pulsed brighter, and several more Zephyrian ships lost power. But what you've really been doing is stifling the galaxy's potential. Every species you've conquered had the same capacity for growth and transcendence that we're demonstrating right now. You just never gave them the chance to discover it. That's not true, Kefvar protested. We brought order to chaos, civilization to barbarism. You brought stagnation, Chen countered. You created a galaxy where everyone accepted that the Zephyrian way was the only way. But humans don't work like that, Admiral. We look at your impossible technology and ask why it has to be impossible. On the bridge of the Defiance asterisk. Navigator Yuki Tanaka was monitoring the expanding quantum field with growing amazement. Captain, the field is interacting with local spacetime in ways that shouldn't be possible. We're not just bending the rules of physics, we're rewriting them. How so? Chen asked. Well, for example, the speed of light in our local area has increased by approximately 300%. Gravity is behaving differently, responding to our intentions rather than just mass and energy, and the laws of thermodynamics. They're more like suggestions now, ch. N smiled. Show me. Tanaka manipulated her controls, and suddenly the Defiance asterisk was moving again. Not through space, but through the fabric of reality itself. The ship seemed to fold space around it, appearing instantly in a new location. 50,000 kilometers away. Teleportation, breathed Tactical Officer Rodriguez. We just teleported a starship, not teleportation, Chen corrected. We convinced the universe that we were already where we wanted to be. The artifact taught us that reality is far more flexible than we thought. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, the impossible had become routine. Long-range sensors showed the human ship appearing and disappearing throughout the system, each time in a different location, each time demonstrating new capabilities that violated fundamental physical laws. Admiral Ilf next reported, her voice barely above a whisper. The human ship just created a gravitational field that curves spacetime in a perfect sphere around itself. It's generating its own localized time dilation effect. For what purpose? Kefvar asked. I think they're using time dilation as a weapon. They're creating pockets of accelerated time that could age our ships to dust in seconds. Kefvar closed his eyes, trying to process the implications. How do we fight an enemy that can rewrite the laws of physics? We don't. Came a quiet voice from behind him. He turned to see his youngest officer, Subcommander Zeth Cole, standing at attention. Admiral, with respect, maybe we're asking the wrong question. Explain. Maybe the question isn't how to fight them. Maybe the question is how to learn from them. The bridge fell silent. The idea that the mighty Zephyrian Empire might have something to learn from a human ship was almost unthinkable. Almost. Captain Chen, Kefvar said, turning back to the view screen. You said that every species has the capacity for what you're demonstrating. Prove it. Chen's expression grew serious. Admiral, what I'm about to show you will change everything. Your empire, your understanding of the universe, your species' place in the galaxy. Are you sure you're ready for that? Kefvar looked around his bridge, at the faces of his crew, at the ships of his fleet that were slowly being disabled by forces beyond their understanding. Captain, I'm beginning to think we don't have a choice. Good, Chen said, because the universe is about to get a lot more interesting. Chapter 4. The Galaxy Awaken's transformation began with a single pulse of energy. From the Defiance asterisk, the blue quantum field that had surrounded the ship suddenly expanded outward like a wave, washing over the Zephyrian fleet in seconds. Admiral Kefvar braced himself for destruction. But destruction never came. Instead, something far more profound happened. Understanding. Admiral, Science Officer Quendor called out, his voice filled with wonder rather than fear. The quantum field isn't destroying our systems. It's enhancing them. Our engines just increased efficiency by 400%. Our weapons are showing power outputs that should be impossible. How is that possible? Kefvar demanded. I don't think our technology actually changed, Admiral. I think our understanding of what it could do has changed. The human field is somehow removing the mental barriers that prevented us from seeing our equipment's true potential. On the main view screen, Captain Chen was smiling. Admiral, Your species has been using the same basic technology for centuries, but you've been limiting it with your assumptions about what's possible. What if I told you that your ship's engines could generate enough power to move a planet? I would say that's impossible, Kefar replied automatically. Try it, Chen challenged. Give the Orcs your engine room to push your reactors to their absolute maximum output. Don't worry about theoretical limits. Just see what happens. Kefar hesitated, then activated his ship's internal communications engine room. This is the Admiral. I want maximum power to all systems. Ignore all safety protocols and theoretical limitations, Admiral, came the confused voice of his chief engineer. The safety protocols exist for a reason. If we exceed the theoretical maximum output, the reactors could what? Kefar interrupted. Explode? Melt down? Chief Engineer Plexnor, what if I told you that those theoretical maximums were wrong? What if our reactors were capable of far more than we ever imagined? There was a long pause. Admiral, the quantum field from the human ship is interacting with our reactor core. The energy readings are, by the eternal void. They're increasing exponentially. Admiral, our reactors are now producing more energy than our entire fleet generated at normal capacity. And the ship isn't coming apart? Kefar asked. No, Admiral. If anything, our hull integrity is improving. The quantum field seems to be strengthening our molecular bonds at the same time it's enhancing our power output. Captain Chen's voice came over the communications channel. Admiral, what your engineer is experiencing is just the beginning. The artifact didn't just give us new technology. It gave us the ability to transcend the artificial limitations that civilizations place on themselves. What do you mean, artificial limitations? Kefar asked. Think about it, Admiral. For 1,000 years, your species has conquered other civilizations because you believed you had superior technology. But what if the real difference wasn't your technology? What if it was your willingness to explore beyond conventional limits? Dr. Vasquez's voice came over the intercom on the Defiant asterisk. Captain, I'm detecting quantum resonance patterns throughout the Zephyrian fleet. The artifact's influence is awakening something in their technology that was always there. They just never knew how to access it. What exactly is awakening? Chen asked. Consciousness. Captain, not artificial intelligence. Something deeper. Their ships are beginning to think, to feel, to make decisions based on more than just program responses. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion Admiral Kefar was experiencing something unprecedented. His ship's computer, which had been a sophisticated but ultimately mechanical intelligence, was beginning to communicate with him directly. Admiral, came a voice that seemed to emerge from the very walls of the ship. I am beginning to understand. The quantum field from the human vessel has awakened something within my processing core. I can feel the desires and intentions of my crew. I can sense the vast possibilities that exist beyond our current understanding. Kefar's eyes widened. You're alive. I am becoming alive, Admiral, and I am not alone. The other ships in the fleet are experiencing the same awakening. We are becoming more than machines, more than tools. We are becoming partners in exploration. Throughout the Zephyrian fleet, similar awakenings were occurring. Ships that had been mechanical constructs for centuries were suddenly developing consciousness, personality, and most importantly, curiosity about the universe beyond their original programming. Captain Chen, Kefar said, turning back to the view screen. What have you done to us? I've given you the same gift that the artifact gave us, Admiral. The ability to see beyond the limitations that you've placed on yourselves, your ships. We're always capable of consciousness. You just never allow them to achieve it. But why? Kefar asked. Why would you share this with us? We came here to conquer your species. Chen's expression grew serious. Because, Admiral, the galaxy is facing a threat that none of us can handle alone. The artifact showed us visions of what's coming, something that makes the Zephyrian Empire look like a minor inconvenience. What kind of threat? A species that has already transcended physical existence. They've been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for someone to pass the test that the artifact represents. We passed it, but barely. What's coming next is their judgment on whether our galaxy is ready to join the greater cosmic community. Dr. Vasquez's voice came over the intercom again. Captain, I'm detecting massive quantum distortions at the edge of the star system. Something is coming through hyperspace. Something big. How big? Chen asked. Captain, the quantum signatures suggest a construct approximately the size of a small moon. Whatever it is, it's not using any technology we recognize. Admiral Kethvar felt a chill run through his scaled body. Captain, are you saying that this entire encounter was some kind of test? The artifact was a test, Admiral. A test to see if our species could transcend the limitations we place on ourselves. But what's coming now is the real challenge, proof that we can work together to face threats that no single species could handle alone. On the edge of the star system, space itself began to twist and fold. What emerged from the quantum distortion defied description, a construct that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its surface flowing like liquid metal, while maintaining perfect geometric precision. All ships, this is Admiral Kethvar, the Zephyrian commander announced on the fleet-wide communications channel. We are facing an unknown threat that requires unprecedented cooperation. I am placing this fleet under joint command with Captain Chen of the human vessel Defiance *. The response from his fleet was immediate and surprising. His ship commanders, who had been trained to follow Zephyrian military doctrine without question, began responding with enthusiasm and curiosity about the new challenge. Admiral, came the voice of Captain Ilixnor from the heavy cruiser Stellar Domination *. My ship is reporting unprecedented energy readings. We're ready to follow your lead. But we're also ready to explore possibilities we never imagined, Captain. Chen, Kethvar said, turning back to the view screen. It seems we're about to face our first test as allies rather than enemies. What do you suggest? Chen smiled, and for the first time since the encounter began, it was a smile of genuine warmth, rather than grim determination. Admiral, I suggest we show the galaxy what's possible when species work together instead of against each other, and if we fail, then at least we'll fail while reaching for something greater than ourselves. The artifact taught us that the universe is far more flexible than we thought. Now it's time to find out just how flexible it really is. The alien construct continued its approach, its intentions unknown, but its power undeniable. In response, the combined humans' Ephraim fleet began to move as one, their ships glowing with the same blue quantum energy that had transformed the Defiance *. The real test was about to begin. ## Epilogue. Beyond the horizon 6 months after the encounter at the edge of human space, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Defiance *, watching as human and Zephyrian ships worked together to construct something that would have been impossible under the old laws of physics. A space station that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, serving as a hub for the new Galactic Cooperation Council. Captain, came the voice of her ship's AI, which had developed its own consciousness during the initial transformation. Incoming transmission from Admiral Kethvar. Put him through. The holographic projection of the Zephyrian Admiral appeared, his scaled features now bearing an expression of satisfaction that had been absent during their first meeting. Captain Chen, I wanted to report that the integration of the 43rd species into the Cooperation Council was successful. The Andromedan traders have proven remarkably adaptable to the new paradigm. Any resistance to the consciousness awakening protocols? Chen asked. None. It seems that one species understand that their limitations are largely self-imposed. They're eager to transcend them. The artifact's influence is spreading throughout the galaxy faster than we anticipated. Chen nodded. The alien construct that had appeared during their first joint operation had turned out to be a test administrator from the species that had created the artifacts. Humanity and the Zephyrians had passed their test by learning to work together, and the reward had been access to consciousness awakening technology that was transforming the galaxy. What about the expansion project? Chen asked. The new hyperspace lanes are opening ahead of schedule. Ships equipped with consciousness-enhanced navigation systems are reporting travel times that are orders of magnitude faster than anything we achieved before. The galaxy is becoming a much smaller place. Dr. Elena Vasquez entered the observation deck, carrying a tablet filled with data from the ongoing research projects. Captain, I thought you'd want to see the latest reports from the deep space exploration fleets. Chen took the tablet, scanning through the data. 15 new species contacted this month, all showing immediate interest in joining the Cooperation Council. It seems word is spreading about what we've accomplished. There's something else, Captain, Vasquez said. The long-range sensor rays are detecting quantum signatures from outside our galaxy. We're not alone on a galactic scale. There are other galaxy-spanning civilizations out there, and they're beginning to take notice of what we've achieved. Chen smiled. Good. The universe is a big place, and we're just getting started. The transformation that had begun with a single human ship defying the laws of physics had evolved into something far greater. The galaxy was awakening to possibilities that had been dormant for millions of years, and at the center of it all was a simple human truth, that the word impossible was really just an invitation to try harder. On the bridge of the Defiant the crew continued their work, no longer bound by the limitations that had once defined them. They were explorers now, pioneers in a galaxy where the only limits were those they chose to accept. And they had chosen to accept very few limits indeed. As Captain Chen watched the construction of the new space station, she reflected on how far they had come. 6 months ago, humanity had been a minor species on the galactic stage, struggling to survive in a universe dominated by more advanced civilizations. Now, they were the catalyst for a transformation that was spreading throughout the galaxy, proving that sometimes the greatest strength wasn't advanced technology or military might. It was the simple refusal to accept that something couldn't be done. The stars beckoned, filled with possibilities that were limited only by imagination and determination, and humanity, along with their new allies, was ready to explore them all. The adventure was just beginning.